Hi, it's us again, and we're back down in Titanic Quarter, and we're back with another episode. It's episode number 8, and it's scary, isn't it?
Oh yeah, scary.
See you in a second. Yeah, so we're back for episode 8, and before we begin today, though, I want to talk about an anniversary, a superhero anniversary. You know, you've got your Superman and your Batman anniversaries, and they're always remembered. But I was walking in Asda the other day, and I happened to see a Beano for sale, and it had Banana Man on the front, and Banana Man is 40, and I'm wearing a Dennis the Menace fan club badge. I will get a close-up of that so you can see. I don't have a Banana Man one, but I remember reading him in The Dandy, and he started off in a very short-lived comic from the same people called Nutty, and it was a bit more sort of eccentric. But anyway, he moved into The Dandy, and now he's in the Beano.
This is 29 Acacia Road, and this is Eric, the schoolboy who leads an amazing double life. But when Eric eats a banana, an amazing transformation occurs. Eric is Banana Man.
And there was an animated series that was voiced by the Goodies.
Goodies, goody goody yum yum.
And they haven't really done anything since. You know, he's still in the comic, but they haven't done anything related to him. So, happy birthday, Banana Man.
You know they're always good promotion.
You know what happens when Eric eats a banana? There's always a very humorous cartoon. But I just wanted to say happy anniversary to Banana Man before we began today, because I think he doesn't get the credit for, you know, along with all the other comic book superheroes. And so now we're going to talk about The Haunting of Villa Diodati, if that's how you say it. I'm not Italian, but it sounds very Italian. And so we get the start of the episode, and this one, I'm just going to reach to my notes here, because this one was written by Maxine Alderton, and we were just having a quick look to see what she's written before, and she's written Emmerdale, basically, and The Worst Witch, the new version of The Worst Witch. But I have to say, I really enjoyed the episode. No help from Chibnall. And most of the writers of this series have co-written the episodes with Chibnall, so she's doing this by herself. But we're in 1800s, and we've got famous people: Mary Shelley, and we've got Lord Byron, and some other guy who was obviously so famous I can't remember his name. But obviously we had Shelley as well later on. But they're doing this, you know, telling spooky stories thing. And then there's a camera shaking all there. There's a knock at the door, which reminded me of the old joke: knock knock.
Who's there?
Doctor.
Doctor Who. I'm sorry, I don't get it. I'm kidding.
Oh dear. And as our subscriber count drops. But yeah, again, it's another brilliantly shot episode. The look of it is amazing. It does look like a horror film. You know, the setup, the lighting, the angles, you know, the camera lenses, everything looks, the atmosphere, very, very cinematic. What did you think?
Yeah, I thought it was a good opener. I think the lighting's really good. The new lenses that they use now, a lot of movies drones makes it look more cinematic because it's 2:1, so they've added it more, so it looks more cinematic. But I think it seems to be. I think this is why TV shows take longer to boost now.
Yes, and they tend to do fewer episodes as well, actually. you know. But we see the TARDIS crew all dressed up in period outfits.
Except the Doctor.
Yeah, I don't know what she's wearing.
She's wearing her coat as normal.
Yeah.
She's got a hood up, but she's wearing a waistcoat instead of her.
She tries the psychic paper, but
Doesn't work.
I don't know what that tells you. Because we mentioned the psychic paper in this episode, or not in this episode, but in the Who review, and we had a little episode where we discussed the uses of it. So she's trying. I like the way they're doing different things with it this time, but it's pouring down with rain. The weather's really bad.
Just like today out here.
Yeah, exactly. I'm wondering if something's going to happen here. And yeah, so we get lightning and thunder and all sorts of things happening. Sort of weird stuff. But in the episode, then Shelley, Percy Shelley, has gone missing. We discover that, and so we're wondering, what has happened to him? How will this affect history? All that sort of thing. And while they're there, they have very haunting experiences. Things fly around and all that kind of thing. But the Doctor's quite particular in telling people not to mention Frankenstein. A lot of those episodes of TV shows, like in Quantum Leap, there's an episode where it's a Halloween episode, I think, where Stephen King is a kid in it, and he says, "Oh, I gave him the idea for Christine."
And don't forget there was another one that there where he leapt into this vet just to basically give Buddy Ollie the line to Peggy Sue.
Peggy Sue.
Let's try Peggy Sue.
So while those are fun, there was another one where it was Michael Jackson was moonwalking.
Yeah, but you reminded me of something there. They say, because next year don't mention about Frankenstein, and she's the one who gets in. I'm just you put there faulty TARDIS in mind there. Don't mention the war.
Yeah.
I mentioned it once or twice, but I think I got away with it. Yeah.
It is. It's one of those things. It's inevitable that if you know something about someone, you're going to want to talk to them about it.
Sure, I think there's a delayed scene in an earlier Doctor, so the Shakespeare Code, where there's a delayed line where the Doctor says to Shakespeare, "I'll meet you earlier," because it's referencing the fact that the fourth Doctor had name dropped Shakespeare and he recognised the lines with the Hamlet in one episode of Slave Death because he recognised his own handwriting.
Yeah, and actually, it's interesting with the rewatching the season 26 in Battlefield. The whole story in Battlefield is that the characters know the Doctor already. They refer to him as Merlin.
Yeah,
but it's ambiguous at first, but then it's made clear whenever he sees the note to himself.
Yeah.
So
apparently, I've read up there. Apparently, in some one of the books, it's the eighth Doctor who wrote that note.
Oh right, that's interesting. I like that idea. But yes, they teach them the dance, which was hilarious, and then we get into the things about where the Doctor kind of breaks her own rules immediately, which is it's par for the course with the Doctor. The Doctor says, "Don't do what I do," or don't. What is it, that expression? Don't do what I do what I say. She has that kind of attitude. But it's interesting.
They're also shocked because they're expecting some writing though, and not these games.
Yes.
They're expecting writing.
That's right. Yeah, they're not expecting them to be playing about in the. Also, they don't expect Shelley to be missing either. But there's a lot of stuff with Graham where he has to try and find the bathroom, and he encounters people. And there's another running theme with Graham about food. Whenever the lady and the child bring him a plate of sandwiches or whatever it is, he's like, "Oh, this is brilliant," because that's something when you're traveling with the Doctor, they never really seem to eat.
Yeah.
Like I would want to have food on the TARDIS. Occasionally in the original series they mentioned it, but
in the 80s, it feels like they never changed the clothes.
That's true, actually. Yeah. But I reckon they had a wardrobe. I reckon Adric had a wardrobe full of all those, tunics or whatever it is he had on.
Yeah.
But whenever Graham is wandering around the house, then we get something's not up. He went upstairs. Something's not up. Something's not right, is what I'm trying to say. He goes upstairs, then he comes back down again, and he's wandering around, and it's like, what is going on here? It's kind of, what's that thing with the room's falling in on itself?
Recursion.
Yes, there's.
Like a bit like Castrovalva, where it's
Yeah.
inspired by Escher.
I was thinking along those lines. Was that a hint maybe? I don't know. And then the young lady. I don't know if she's a famous person. I didn't catch her. But she's trying to break in because she likes Lord Byron and is trying to find out. My knowledge of him is very limited, but I understand that he was a ladies' man, so they're playing it well here, and I think there's some fun scenes, whenever he's talking about this. Talking about he's kind of used to female attention, so he's not that bothered.
Yeah.
That this young girl is really into him. He's not. He just thinks it's par for the course, but he finds the Doctor more challenging, doesn't he?
Yeah, I'd like to see what Lord Byron would have thought when he saw the Doctor's past selves.
Yes, indeed.
She used to be a man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't think he would.
What would be like if we saw him as this little Scottishman? Or
Right, so where do we get to this? So Ryan, he was playing chopsticks, and she asked him, was this popular in the colonies, as a reference, to that time period where the British Empire, was far-reaching. So it's an interesting setup, that they've got, where they're sort of in this house, and then there's a reference to the other character sleepwalking, and that kind of thing, and he's a bit uptight, and he challenges Ryan to a duel.
Yeah.
And then we get this creepy hand, bony hand, crawling along. I thought that was quite interesting, and the butler, he manages to save the day, and Byron is really interested in the Doctor because she's licking the bones and being able to tell, to age the skeleton by the taste of it. And
and this is stuff that you can do now, but you couldn't do with the other Doctors, because I don't think, because obviously this Doctor being female in this incarnation, that's something that they can do with Peter Capaldi or David Tennant or Matt Smith.
I thought in the last series, did she not eat soil and was able to go, oh.
Yes, yeah. But the Doctor has done that as the fourth Doctor.
Also, thing I forgot about in rewatching Survival is the Doctor does this.
Yeah.
And he goes, the power of one finger. So that never really happened again. Not that I remember, it might have, but so there are little things the Doctor does that pop up here and there. I guess it's a bit like Superman and Superman 4, where he can rebuild things with his eyes.
And Venetian Aikido comes back.
Oh yes, that's right. Yeah.
Which is from the third Doctor.
Yeah. I mean, unless the finger thing is relating to that, but he doesn't mention that.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Doctor's taste buds seem to be able to do a lot more. Let's put it that way. But she asks then to see the skeleton because Lord Byron reveals that he's got a skeleton, and he seems to be into this sort of thing. And again, great cinematography whenever we see the room. And the Doctor gets taken with the hat. It reminds me of the first Doctor, actually. Where he enjoyed costume changes a lot, didn't he? Got overexcited.
And the second Doctor always has a thing. He goes, I want a hat like that.
Yeah. And the second Doctor did have a weird hat, like a massive big hat.
Yeah, he had it in his first couple of stories.
Yeah.
They're in the pictures, but those stories don't exist anymore.
Yes, that's right.
They exist in audio.
Yeah.
But he's in stills.
And also in the animated version, they brought it back.
So that's in the other ones, but because they're lost, I don't think it's well remembered as much.
No. Although I remember it because I think I've seen the stills.
Yeah.
Whenever they were referencing Patrick Troughton, they used the stills. It's one of those things, the Patrick Troughton ones weren't really shown as much because even when I was a kid, even Tomb of the Cybermen was missing at that point.
So it was fine in 92, I think.
Yeah, so there were very few Patrick Troughton stories that were actually, viewable on TV. Which meant that whenever they found ones, I was always pleased. Like Enemy of the World, I was so thrilled that they managed to find that.
And it's been reappraised. It's done a lot better. A lot of people at the time don't like it because there's no monsters in there, but now you think it's actually one of the nice gems.
It's very James Bondy, isn't it?
Yeah.
So back to the story then. They're trying to say about Shelley is missing and they're trying to find him, and the Doctor's not really come out with a plan, but she's kind of taking in what's being said and being aware of imminent things. But another comedy moment is when Graham sort of discovers the servants, and we're getting to it here. And this we're watching the episode as we speak to you, and he's like, there's never any food, which is true. It's such a true point. In the TARDIS crew, they never have any snacks. It's just kind of put to the side. The amount of time Andrew spent in there, he was a stowaway, and you rarely see him eat.
That's why we ate loads in Black Orchids.
Yeah, exactly. That was the only time when he stuffed his face, and also beforehand when he was on his own planet. But other than that, so that then the guys find out they're going down the stairs, but they find themselves going up in terms of the house. So that's when they find out something is up here. And the doctor, she's taken to that hat. She wants to keep it. She doesn't want to admit that. But she talks about her bad vibe, that she's picked up. And that's why she's trying to take in everything that's happening, because she's suspicious that nothing is what it seems, but she hasn't really verbalized that yet. But you can tell she's thinking and looking and taking things in. But they're getting a bit fed up, going up and down the stairs, going in and out of the same room. And we get to the point when everyone in the house suddenly says, yeah, I'm trapped, are you trapped? And they see like a spooky figure, don't really know what it is. And Yaz and Ryan are like, yeah, no, this is our thing, don't worry. We sort stuff like this out all the time. And then Ryan gets scared because of Yaz's elbow. He gets spooked. And then, we find out about the baby. And it's Mary Shelley's son, is it? Son, yeah. But that's interesting that the baby's brought into the picture at this stage. And she's worried about it because she can't get to the baby, as you would expect. So the servant girl goes and tries to, rescue the baby, and isn't that a mistake?
Yeah.
But she sees this flashing figure, this flashing white, looks like an astronaut actually, and suddenly, what's the guy's name? Look, who challenged people to a duel. Polly, that's it, Polly. He gets up and sleepwalks into a wall, and Graham tries to sort of stop him, tries to talk to him, but he just vanishes right inside the wall. Yeah, the doctor's still trying to figure out what the hell's going on. She's asking questions and trying to figure out, from what people are telling her, but they get fed up and start shouting, can you hear me? Which was the previous episode, wasn't it?
Yes, I can hear you, Clinton.
And they're shouting for the doctor, and not the other doctor, not the doctor, but Dr. Poley. And Graham is like, there's something seriously wrong with this gaff. And I think I'm seeing dead people. And there's a bit of confusion because he's talking about the servants, who are more than a bit creepy.
Yeah.
And they're stuck on the stairs. And they're asking, how do we move upwards? How do we get out of this? And the doctor's like, I'm working on it. Ghosts don't exist, she says. As the doctor has always said, ghosts don't exist. And Graham's confused, and she's telling him that she's shouting down the chimney. I did that on Millennium Eve. I was on my friend's roof. We were waiting to see the Millennium sunrise. And I ended up shouting down to my friend in the kitchen to make us breakfast through the chimney. So I know that does work. And so Graham's explaining about what happened to the other doctor who went through walls. And then they learn for themselves because he comes through the wall. So not only does he go through walls, but he goes up. So it would seem anyway. And that's Lord Byron says, "I must say you're quite lovely in a crisis. May I say you're quite lovely in a crisis?" And the doctor says, "No, you may not." That's probably the best line in the episode.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose this is stuff you probably couldn't do with Neill after you put it up.
No, probably not. But it's a bit of fun, a bit of banter. I thought that was much needed in this particular, for this doctor, you know.
Because still kind of get used to the fact that the doctor is organised, so used to the fact of being a Neill for so long.
Exactly. And he has not really had to put up with that sort of behaviour.
Yeah.
Couple of women fancied him, but you know, he didn't really. The doctor being the doctor didn't really reciprocate, apart from maybe in New Who. The 10th Doctor was a bit more touchy-feely.
Yeah.
Maybe even the 9th Doctor a little bit.
The 11th Doctor definitely wasn't.
No. So they're trying to. They realise it's a kind of perception filter, so they're trying to break through it so they can see what is actually there. Yeah, so the doctor, she actually breaks the perception filter. They're discussing about how they're trying to figure out what's going on with the house, with the information that they have. Yes, and Byron thinks that they're dead, which is probably not a completely out there theory. I sometimes wonder if I'm in limbo.
Voice.
And then they talk about, 1816 being the year without a summer and volcanic ash. And she's like, what if something came up that wasn't supposed to? It's building up to a moment. I must admit, I did figure that this was going to be the case today, or in this episode, that the big reveal was going to be what it was. But then we see more of the flashing image. It looks like an astronaut. And then we get the reveal of the Cyberman.
The lone Cyberman.
Yes. But he's not all there, literally. There's still some human flesh on him. He's more cyborg. I know they are cyborgs, but he's more of a cyborg.
Well, it's damaged and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's more emotional.
Yes. The inhibitors have not been applied, as the doctor points out.
Obviously, he's like the most violent Cyberman I've seen.
Yeah, very aggressive. Although we did get a little bit of that from Bill, when Bill got emotional.
Yeah.
They did those clever scenes with her when we cut to her as the human, but in the entire reality she's Cyberman, and when she gets annoyed, she starts shooting. That's where we get a real good feel for how dangerous a Cyberman can be.
Yeah.
And if you can't control that, you're even more dangerous. But he's a little bit damaged, and he tries to shoot, but there's another funny moment, where the doctor says it's a bit embarrassing because he tries to shoot her. But yeah, so we have this was Jack's warning, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
And of course the doctor proceeds to completely ignore his warning. But do you think he'll be back in the final?
I think so. I'm not sure. He probably will be.
Be interesting.
I hope so. It'd be nice to see him again. I'd like to see him meet the doctor.
So the Cyberman, he kills the butler. Unbelievable.
Really devastating.
The poor man. What do you think of the design of the Cyberman this time around?
It's pretty cool. I quite like the damaged look and the human flesh underneath.
Yeah. And the silhouette is the same. The silhouette is what gives them away.
Oh yeah.
It's not a Mondasian Cyberman. I don't know what it is. It's not clear.
Maybe it's like another upgrade.
Yeah. But it's definitely interesting. Having the different voice as well is interesting. He's got the Cyberman type voice, but there's still that little bit of human underneath there. So you get to see a little bit of his emotion that's still there, the aggression that comes out. But when he sees the baby, he does stop for a moment and sort of hints that the baby will be upgraded. But that is, again, a bit of a red herring, isn't it, really? You know. So the guy's there in the room, and the doctor's. I guess from that speech the doctor gave to them, I guess she's worried about Bill, people like that. You know, she doesn't want to lose anybody else to Cybermen. She's quite clear about that. Yeah, a lot more emotional speeches in this episode from the doctor, aren't there?
Yeah, Bill more doctors.
Yeah. Of course, the gang, they don't listen to the doctor. It's like they technically, she said, don't follow her, but she didn't say we couldn't leave.
Legalities.
And then the doctor has a little chat with the Cyberman. Yes, and there's that line, "You've met my kind before," and you could say that, bit of an understatement. So yeah, we hear about the Guardian thing. You know, are you the Guardian? We don't really know what that is. It's not a Guardian, but the Guardian. Not the paper either. Because that would be really boring. Here's the Guardian. It's a paper.
Black and white Guardian. Is it the black or the white Guardian?
Both. What's black and white and red all over?
Guardian.
We've got really, really terrible old jokes in this episode. Well then, yes, they head down to the cellar. You should in a horror setting, especially with Mary Shelley, and knowing the situation, why would you go to the cellar? But they don't.
That's what we say, Shelley.
Yes, not Shelley, as in you know, the 80s ITV sitcom, which I really love. It's a different Shelley. He was an unemployed, work-shy philosophist, if you want to call it that. But this Shelley is Percy Shelley from the history, you know. Where the Cyberman's looking very aggressive here, isn't he? He powers himself up from lightning or whatever that is. I think it's lightning. Well, we find out then who the Guardian is, and it's Shelley himself. So the Cyberman starts quoting Shelley. He gets an electric shock and starts quoting Shelley. So I didn't quite figure out what that was about, did you? Why he's quoting Shelley? Unless it was to throw us off thinking, was that Shelley becoming a Cyberman? That's the only thing I could think of.
Yeah, I have that film myself. Yeah. Maybe it's like a link with that, with Shelley.
But at the end, they said they took his writings, so maybe there is some other link. Unintentional link, but now there is a link. Yeah, so the doctor basically finds out from Shelley that he took some artificial intelligence into his hand, and it's inside him, so that's where he has the link on how he became the Guardian. But this is obviously very important to the Cyberman. It's collected info. It's kind of like hive intelligence. I don't know, in one big blob. I don't know how to describe it. But it seems to be vital to the plot. And in this particular case, the doctor ends up removing it from Shelley by, let me get this straight, showing him his own death so that it thinks that it's dying. And then it comes out. So Shelley knows how he's going to die then, which is interesting. And then the doctor takes it on, but then we get this struggle where the doctor has a choice to make. Do you not think it was a bit left field? But when Ryan just turned around and basically said, it's kind of Star Trek, you know, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, or the one. But it was out of nowhere from Ryan, because it didn't seem like he would want to just kill anybody. But it did lead to the most doctory speech in the series as a whole for Jodie. And she basically, I have been joking, sort of saying that she'd go around saying it's a very flat structure and all too pally with people, and then she kind of joked and then tore that apart and said, look, it's not so flat, I'm at the top. making all these decisions, life or death. And sometimes the life or death decisions are not easy. And it was a real sort of strong, proper speech. And I think basically saying, look, the only thing I can do is give this thing what it wants and then deal with the consequences, which is what they usually do. But I thought it's a very sort of powerful scene. What do you think?
Oh yeah, good scene. No, it does feel like a bit tight. It does feel a wee bit, it was in and out again, but it's good.
Yeah, it was definitely much needed. And then we get the little bit at the end, where all is well and Ryan encourages her to continue to write. Little hint there from him. And then they go off into the TARDIS and Graham's like, yeah, so what was with the creepy servant? And they're like, what? What are you talking about? And that's when I think the Doctor's winding Graham up. When she says, or, ghosts don't exist, or do they? I think she's winding him up.
Yeah, because it was kind of going, did he see actual ghosts?
Yeah. But no, and that was the end, and then we got a next time trailer for the. It's a 2-part finale, isn't it?
Yeah, essentially the same as the film.
Yeah. So I think overall that was a very, very strong episode, and I look forward to seeing the.
No, I would like to know more about those ghosts. Who they would be.
I don't think we're going to find out.
We're not going to find out, but it'd be nice to know who were they.
Yeah, I think were they real people? Were they the original? I don't recognize the clothes. I don't know what time period they're from, but they could be previous residents.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll never know.
Obviously, this is kind of a comedy vibe.
Yeah, I think there was a Scooby-Doo vibe to this episode. And I think that's probably what contributed to those kind of splitting up and all that kind of thing. It was very Scooby-Doo. And the ghosts, and whether they're real or not. Because in Scooby-Doo, there was a series where they did have real ghosts in it for a while.
Yeah.
But so we've got 2 more episodes to go, and then another one of these where we're summarising it all. But what do you hope to get out of the next 2 episodes?
Well, question is answered. Hopefully, it will be the Tim's child is, or children, as the finale is going to be called. Why more about the lone Sidemen? What's his agenda? Why is it different from other Sidemen?
Yes. And the other thing as well is, you don't happen to know if they?
The Joe Martin Doctor's probably going to come back.
Yeah, I was going to say you don't happen to know if we're getting a series. Is there going to be a big gap between the next series?
I've heard implications that there probably will be, but that just seems to be TV in general these days.
It's a money thing, isn't it?
Yeah. I think TV's getting harder. I think TV's getting more expensive to produce.
Yeah. They should just do podcasts. It's no money in it, but it's just as much effort. Well, that's it though. So once again from us here in Titanic. See you next time.
Next time. Bye.